Welcome to the Product Podcast, where we dive deep into the real-world challenges and victories of product managers, startup founders, and product teams. I'm your host, Lee Jean, and in each episode, we have authentic conversations that uncover the hidden stories shaping modern product management. In today's episode, I sit down with Bohn, who is the CEO of Wortal, a company revolutionizing the gaming industry. We talk about how he got into entrepreneurship and some of the struggles and challenges he's been dealing with throughout building a startup here in Japan. All right, Will, thanks for coming on.
Hey, nice to be on the show.
Yeah, I'm really excited to interview you today. I saw that you had won the Takeoff Tokyo pitch contest last year.
Yeah.
And that was super exciting,
hmm
obviously.
Yeah.
I know that you're starting a startup or you're running a startup currently in the gaming space. So I'd love
Yep.
to learn a little bit about your journey into entrepreneurship and what kind of, fueled that passion for gaming and why you started your startup. Yeah.
I think it kind of all starts back to me growing up as a kid and figuring out that the video games that I liked to play were A, made in Japan, and then B, you actually had to program them in order to make them. And so I started to learn to program from elementary school. And so that involves, actually just making things. And then you find out like there's problems that you have that need solving or would make your life easier. Like I know, what was it, matrix multiplication was not exactly fun, and I remember making an application that would do that. And then grew up all the way up to high school doing, very focused on programming, got interested into the business and entrepreneurship side of things as I went into university. Spent some time here in Japan as an exchange student, came back with another startup that I was doing with identity as a platform, which was supposed to be a solution for all of the point cards that, if you think it's bad now, back in 2006, 7, it was, I feel like it was a million times worse. So I had a company that was doing that. So it was my, maybe that's not my first foray into entrepreneurship, but while I was growing up, doing a lot of programming projects for other people as well. But that's the first time I made an organization, made a corporation over in the U.S.
Mm.
and formalized things. And then we got a patent for the stuff that we had done. And then I went through grad school here in Japan, internship at a startup during that time. Went off to D2C, which is a subsidiary of NTT Docomo and Dentsu. So I was like the only white guy there. So every time an English phone call would come in, they'd be like, "Oh, hey, Will, some guy on the phone. I don't know what he's saying." And so I was the guy that would take the call, and was helping them with their international expansion. And I think it was a really great experience to learn about how Japanese corporations work, both
Mm.
sort of like NTT Docomo style as well as Dentsu style. Afterwards, worked at a company that was it was a startup out of Boston that was trying to break into the APAC market around mobile app marketing. And so working with games and traditional apps. And of course, that took some technical ability as well as marketing ability, and also, knowledge about games. Then afterwards, went off to another startup that was doing like offline online technology. Think of like amiibos for games. It was a little bit ahead of its time. Then I went off to another company that's, I guess, famous now, Playco.
Mm.
When I was there, it was called Game Closure, and I was in charge of all of their sort of work with partners here in Japan, and also their marketing activities and so on. And then from that, decided, it was time to start my own thing,
Mm.
and made the company we have now, Digital Will, that was starting off with digital marketing and consulting. And meanwhile, we were kind of experimenting with different things,
Oh,
trying
cool.
to figure out what sort of problems that we could solve and what things that we could scale on. And what we found is that one of the products that we came up with that combined a lot of the work that we had done in the gaming space, marketing space, and a lot of the tech that we built up over time, was this great platform called Wortal. That product helps game studios to be able to deploy their games across different platforms, so that way they can make more money at a lower cost, um, especially nowadays when the competition is a lot more fierce in the uh, gaming space, and people are needing to sort of adapt to this new way of doing business in gaming and even content creation. So what we do with gaming can actually be applied not only to just games, but also to other sectors, like normal apps and so on as well. We're solving real pain points that game studios and people who are delivering content and experiences have.
Nice. Yeah. So
Yep.
who's your typical type of customer? It wouldn't be somebody like Nintendo. It would be more like indie developers, or what types of, yeah, people are your customers?
It's kind of evolved over time. So we were working under a revenue share model for some time. And we did this because we thought it would be a sort of win-win relationship. What we found, though, is that going out with a revenue share model, you're essentially saying that your product is for free, which, as altruistic and nice as it is, just isn't the reality of like what it is that we're delivering. And so
Hmm.
we just onboarded our new CRO, and thank God we had another pair of eyes on our go-to-market strategy. It was like, Will, like you have all these great products and things, just like your revenue model is messed up. Like we need to make adjustments to it, and this should be something that people pay for, because there's inherent value in all of the things and with what you're doing and the value that you're delivering. And so that's the model that we're starting off actually this month, along with a lot of big rebranding partnerships and other big announcements that are have been coming, and will continue on throughout this month. So it's a really exciting month for us.
It definitely sounds like it, man. Exciting indeed. What's the journey been like since that initial Takeoff Tokyo event where you won the prize, right? What
Yeah.
happened after that?
So I remember coming out of that, and you get a lot of congratulations and people approaching you and trying to say, "Oh, let's like do an interview and whatnot." And then I remember from that, got more conversations going, and I think it led up to us being a part of uh, Techstars Tokyo's very first batch
Hmm,
here
heard
in
about that. Yep.
uh, Japan, and then from there we've just had more momentum and knowledge about what we're doing, what I'm trying to do, which is I'm also trying to contribute to the Japanese startup scene as well. When I came here on the plane in 2009, sitting right next to me was I guess a semi-famous uh, guy, kind of in the Japan and Silicon Valley venture spaces, and got to be introduced to lots of friends and told them what I was doing, and just kind of like, oh, good luck. Japan needs more people like you. But my motivation, I mean, at its core, is give back to Japan, because Japan has been a inspiration for kind of who I am today. I mean, I live here, I like living here, and I want to make. I also want to do my part to contribute to Japan's future. And I think an essential sort of an ingredient to that is, quite frankly, it's entrepreneurships, uh, being global, and
Hmm.
and so on.
What do you think prevents so many Japanese from getting into entrepreneurship?
Like it's easy to get cozy in a big company, and you just kind of get pulled into the inertia of um, a big company is one thing. The other thing is that the big companies will provide more structure. And to be honest, like part of the reason we have like a lot of the nice things we have in Japan is because things are very structured and laid
Right.
out. And like if you look at, I don't know, any instruction booklet from some of the banks on like how to use their bank account, it's like
Yes. Yes.
literally like any
Yes.
possible thing you can think of is in that book. Whereas like, in America or other places, it's kind of like, here you go, you got access to it. Like, I don't know, well, here's a, you
A
know,
100% agree. 100% agree, man.
this,
Actually, in America, we don't mind answering questions, but I found here that
Mhm.
Japanese like all the information up front in order to avoid answering questions later.
Yes.
Has
So
that
they
been
want
your
the,
experience? Yeah.
yeah, they want the whole, like, oh man, like even as part of like the sales process, they want to know like, okay, from the second that we're talking now until we're married, like
Yeah.
we want to know all of the steps
Yes.
in between, what that's going to look like, and then even past that, what's going to happen
Hmm.
after that. So they want the whole thing road mapped out. And part of that too is like not only for their sake, but then they also need to build that consensus internally within their company. And if they don't have like all the answers for just about everything, then what'll happen is during the meetings where they're trying to build that consensus, inevitably there's going to be some cranky dude who's just there to like try and poke holes at things, who's
Hmm.
going to be like, well, what about like, what if a meteor comes out of the sky and hits the uh, company's CEO in the head
Yeah.
um, at a 30-degree angle? Well, then what?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
100%. I could definitely see that happening. It's and also the hierarchical structure here really prevents innovation from happening because, like you said, somebody might have a great idea that could, improve processes or push the company forward. But this guy who has 20 years, 30 years experience in the same company, who grew up in the company, doing things a certain way, is probably like,
yeah,
oh no, I have more experience, so whatever I say goes. We're not doing that,
yeah.
right?
That's absolutely I think, part of the case. I mean, their experience from before, like it may have worked 20 or 30 years ago, especially during like the good old bubble era
Yeah.
times, but like we're in a completely different uh universe right now. If we just look globally with the advancements with AI,
Hmm.
digital transformation, and all of these other things. Meanwhile, in Japan, we're still stuck with fax machines as part of the like a lot of these processes, and like uh, Excel hell filling out documents and so on and so forth. So I mean, there's a lot of processes and controls that are set up within these uh, companies. They're there for a reason, but I think there also needs to be a safe place for more companies and more people to be able to try and push the barrier, try new things,
Mm.
and whether that be entrepreneurship, so like having people within the company having a place to like try out new ideas and do new things, as well as people just spinning out and doing their own things, and then also having a proper support structure for that. I think both of those things are totally fine.
As a foreign founder here in
Yeah,
Japan, what have been some of the main struggles or challenges that you've had to personally face in order
yeah,
to or overcome in order to get your company to where it's at?
I mean, a lot. But I mean, honestly speaking, there is still a little bit of I don't know, fear of uh, foreigners
Mm.
here to from some people and some companies and so on, and whether or not we want to go out, and there are some people would admit it or not. I think it's a subconscious thing, even if they would say that like they're not, there is a subconscious thing like, oh, they're different, and obviously that's a hurdle. On the flip side, I've tried really hard to at one point to fit in and wear the suit and jacket and all that stuff, But the reality is then like you're not you, you're trying to be like it's almost like you're trying to become Japanese, but the reality is like what you should do instead is embrace the fact that you are different and use that as a strength
Mm.
instead of a weakness because there's a hell of a lot of Japanese people in Japan. There's not so many foreign founders
Right.
or foreign people here in Japan, and like embrace that. That's part of your strength, and the fact that you're different.
How long did it take you to figure that out? Like, was it just a couple of years or was it, much longer? I know you've been here since 2009, so.
Probably something I kind of experimented with for probably about a year, year and a half.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, my God, it's exhausting, and you'll look at yourself in the mirror and be like, who is this person that I'm looking at right now? And it's soul crushing.
Mm.
So I think everyone really needs to be authentic about, who we are and um, what we stand for and these sort of things. And that's part of the reason I wear my, Motorhead um, shirt and hat, because I think those are, also representations just like from the musical side, and what they stood for, at least from my interpretation, was about uh, being authentic and being the real you, and fighting for the things that were right, in spite of any sort of, I don't know, strong opposition that you might face.
Absolutely. And I think that's definitely something that most Americans see,
Mhm.
but unfortunately not a lot of Japanese see. We brought
Yeah,
up something about fitting in, right?
yeah,
I think to a certain degree, a lot of Japanese feel that they have to fit in with everybody else.
yeah,
My wife, for example, she has curly blonde hair, and
yeah,
when she was in university, she felt like she had to straighten her hair and she had to
yeah,
dye it black and stuff like that.
yeah,
But when she moved to America, she immediately went back to what she was more,
yeah,
comfortable with, the curly
yeah,
brown hair. She's naturally curly, but
mhm,
not blonde. But yeah, she feels more comfortable outside of this society, right?
yeah,
So I feel that for entrepreneurs to be successful, they need
mhm,
to be able to get rid of the noise, right?
yeah,
Especially Japanese entrepreneurs, right? Because that
yeah,
noise is very, it's like, it's almost, crushing in terms of
yeah,
that, right? So hopefully that will change in the future. And I agree with you. We should be very authentic. We should be ourselves because
yeah.
that's when we operate the best.
I mean, absolutely. If you're trying to, you will spend a bunch of energy and so on trying to put on a show that just
Never
like
works.
it's not you, and it's gonna show. Everyone will eventually like see through it, and also like you're limiting your passion, which is should be a strength, especially as a entrepreneur, or somebody in a startup. You should have that passion for whatever vision, for whatever thing that you're trying to do and uh, build and whatever. Like that is a super essential ingredient to get you through the rough times, which I mean, you will have no matter what. It's painful, it's a grind, it's a marathon, whatever you want to call it. On the flip side, the fact that you're taking the courage to try and make the world a better place and move the needle, even a little bit, I think is something to respect those people for trying.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
We need to push entrepreneurs to do more because if we don't, then they're not going to do anything. They're not going to innovate. Absolutely. Outside of the cultural stuff and
Sure.
outside of the challenges that you have faced personally,
Yeah.
dealing with those things, do you think Japan has some resources to be a very friendly entrepreneur place?
I think so, absolutely. The infrastructure here that we have in Japan is stable. We don't have to worry about like stabbings or well, just stabbings, I guess, but like or gun shootings
Yeah.
and things like this, as much as you might see in other places like the US. So there's a lot of stability. There's safety nets for the people who are not entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
which is another thing. But I'd also say like there's a ton of great resources. There's a ton of great people, great talent. people with ideas. And I know the Japanese government, they've got their 5-year plan for creating more of these startups and unicorns, decacorns, etc.
Mhm.
And so I think there is a genuine effort to try to make this stuff happen. So there is efforts by the government and so on to make this a better environment for startups. And I would say that compared to when I came here in 2009, there's much more of a startup scene and people kind of building communities, etc., than there was back then.
When I first got here last year,
Mhm.
I've only been here for a year, right? But I found like there's like so many free co-working spaces,
Yeah,
which I was not heard of in the US, for example, right?
yeah,
There's all these accelerator programs that are going on.
mhm,
There are so many events every single month for people to go to,
yeah,
and it's because the government is pushing so much for it. I think the goal was 100 new unicorns within 10 years or something like that,
yeah,
right? Something is whatever the goal is, right?
yeah,
We got Sushi Tech coming up in May this year. We just had
mhm,
Takeoff Tokyo this month.
yeah,
Some really big events happen in Japan, and you have
yeah,
cities such as Yokohama, Fukuoka, Osaka, Tokyo, and I think a few others that all have startup visa programs, right?
yeah,
So I think it's definitely a good place to build. It's just if you don't have a bankroll like of savings, in the
yeah.
saved up, or an actual plan for your startup, then I think it could be a tough place to build.
It goes back to some of the cultural things, and maybe not cultural, but like the uh, bureaucratic inertia that's been set up over the years, especially like, I don't know, trying to come up with that initial capital to
Hmm.
get started is hard. um Trying to make a bank account, oh my god,
Oh my
like,
God.
is
It's
really
tough.
really hard. I think even getting loans was easier than getting the actual bank account. So there's certainly a lot of places where I think there's a lot of room for improvement. It'll take some time, and I think it takes the feedback from the community. And it's not just about like, I don't know, whining and complaining, but providing feedback that's constructive and
Mm,
say like, hey, right now we have this sort of situation, and in order for us to be successful and to have a successful community and an environment, like we need XYZ and this support from not only the government but the other integral pieces that are a part of it to also follow along as well.
so I guess what you brought up community, right?
Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about how you're trying to make the community better and give back to the community with your initiative that's coming up soon?
Yeah, so I've just launched a website that's kind of it's a registration site. So look for when it actually launches. But it's ForFounders.jp. The intention behind it is that all of the sort of experience that I've gone through and the knowledge that I've amassed through making mistakes and doing XYZ, I also want to make sure that other people have actual practical, no BS sort of resources as to, what's what, who's cool, who's not, these sort of things, so that people don't kind of fall into the same traps or waste time with things that I've had to do, so that way they can become more efficient, more knowledgeable about what policies, for example, are out there, what opportunities there are out there, who can help also support them, so they don't feel like they're alone on, you know, I hate this word, entrepreneurship journey, but I mean but I mean it is a journey because you're gonna
It
have your
is.
ups and downs, and like you're gonna fall down, scrape your knees, and I don't know, maybe die.
It's okay.
But then I mean, you get back up and get back on your feet and and do something again, maybe. And then if nothing else, you've come away with new learnings. You're bigger, better, stronger, and so on. But I don't think, until I get this site out, I don't think there's a whole lot of like resources out there that actually say like, hey, in order to do these things, like here are the steps, here's how you should structure things, here are the people that you need to talk to, here's the support network that you have that will take care of you when stuff goes good and when stuff goes bad.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, as part of that, I want like a Discord server so that way other founders can talk to each other, and other people part of the community can also come together, if they've got, you know, if they just want to have a heart to heart with another founder about challenges that they have, that they can do that in kind of a, a safe space. Now, how I organize that, I have no idea, because I do want to avoid the fact where it's just like everyone completely just like promoting their whatever SaaS sort of thing. So
Right.
maybe there's a spot on there for self promo, and then everything else should be about people supporting one another. I mean, certainly some of the SaaS products that people make actually might add value to people's work, but I don't want it to just be like a sales vehicle. It should be about supporting one
Yeah,
another.
I'll tell you, man, like community building's hard,
Yeah,
but if you're able to do it and do it effectively, it's super rewarding.
yeah,
Especially when, everyone where you have a hands-off approach, but then everyone is kind of like, chiming in and helping each other. Once
yeah,
you create that kind of environment, it's gold, honestly.
yeah,
And I think that, like you said, you brought up a safe space where people can air their grievances and like get help and stuff. That is
yeah,
super, super important. You also talked
yeah,
about having a step-by-step guide. I think that would be super, super valuable for, getting the startup visa or
yeah,
like how to register your business in Japan. A lot of
yeah,
the stuff is in Japanese, for
yeah,
example, right?
yeah,
Or you have to pay tons of money for some, support service to help you get started. Uh, if somebody can put that kind of guide together, I
yeah.
think that would be really super valuable for anyone who's coming here and wants to start a business for sure. Really looking forward to it. If you ever need help with like some contributions, I'd be happy to, do some things as well with regards to,
I think,
I've hosted like several community events and things like that, so I'd be happy to contribute.
yeah, I'm looking for, not only your contributions, but other people's contributions and their experiences and so on. So it's a joint effort. In fact, on the site itself, I'm not saying I'm like the grand lord of the site or whatever, but like I'm like a what's the word I'm using? Like the moderator or
Oh
uh,
yeah, moderator. Yeah.
something like that. I'm not going to be right 100% of the time. I've got my opinions based on my experiences, and I only have certain knowledge about certain things, and other people are going to have better knowledge about uh, other parts that
Yep.
I just don't know. Um,
100%.
for example, you talked to me about manufacturing hardware and stuff. Like I've been a digital guy like almost my entire life, so trying to ask me about how to build robots, like I'd say cool, I like building robots, but I have no idea where to
Who to reach
where to
out
get
to.
started.
Right, exactly. No, no, it'd be cool if you're able to connect people like and have those separate channels in that Discord thing for like hardware, software,
Yeah,
SaaS, promotion, events, like all those type things, and
yeah.
we can help each other that way. I'm really looking forward to that. What's one thing that we didn't speak about today that you think I should have asked you about?
Wow, that's a good question. Maybe where our company is kind of going, and
Hmm.
I guess let me do some self PR.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
But I think with gaming and everything in content and everything in general, people are moving away from more and more the sort of walled gardens we have with uh, say Google Play and the
Mhm.
Apple App Store, especially on mobile, and they're looking for new places and new ways to interact with their communities and to monetize more, especially as you see some of the gaming studios kind of getting squeezed on traditional models and traditional ways of operating. And so over the years, I'd say 2 years, we've built up this platform called Wortal that allows not only game developers, but other creators building experiences to deliver those experiences across all of the different platforms that exist out there, including Google Play and the App Store, but also like consoles, as well as on the web and within super apps. So that way people can truly reach people wherever they may be. And that's the direction that, I think a lot of places are moving, and especially in the gaming industry, what we're kind of seeing, and even Nintendo, I think with their latest financial reports and their the call that they had, they were talking about, Mario Party, for example, being a bigger winner than some of the AAA sort of titles that they invest in. And the reason is simple. It's that those games they're still really, really, really fun to play at its core. And the graphics aren't like, it's less about the graphics, but it's more about uh, just a good, fun experience that people like. And so some companies, I think, are doubling down on crazy graphics and whatnot, but I don't think that at the core of it, that's what people want. People want fun, good content, whether it be games or just an app. The app works fine. It does what I need it to do. I enjoy opening up the app or the game every day, or even if it's products that you use, that's hardware. Like, you want those products to be something that, just you can depend on and you enjoy using it. So it's providing that core value to people, no matter where they may be or how they want to interact with those devices. I think that's kind of where we're seeing the market moving, especially in the gaming and entertainment spaces. So even another good example is Sega. Like, they've made some great strides with movies and IP, and making like Sonic, not and some of their other brands, not just about the game itself, but also moving into the real world experiences, and exposing those games and the experiences to other places across channels.
Sounds like, you're trying to democratize gaming for everybody, right?
That's you've summed that up very nicely.
Good. Yeah, yeah. That's a great mission, man. People love games, especially here in Japan, US, as well as a big market for it. So if you can bring more games to people, I think that would make people have a lot more fun, for sure.
And it makes game studios make more money.
That's right. It's a win-win for everybody. Exactly. Cool,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. So we have a closing tradition on this podcast, and that is that the last guest actually leaves a question for you to answer, and then you
Okay.
will, after that, leave a question for the next guest. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right, cool.
I'm ready.
Cool. So the question that was left for you is, if you could have any superpower that could realistically improve your daily life, what
Huh?
would it be, and how would you use it in your career?
I had a superpower.
It can't be like, something crazy like flying or whatever, right? But it's something that can actually help you with your daily life. How would you use it?
I think the biggest thing for me is if I were able to communicate through email and other places more quickly and efficiently, and still be on point with the things that I want to communicate. That would be super great. To add to that, I'm like, it's on my like AI sort of like list of things to try to automate as much
Mhm.
as possible. So I've got things kind of set up where I can start to, work towards that, but I think it still requires a bit of a hands-on approach. There's no way to like take my brain and, I don't know, upload it to the matrix, so
Okay.
to speak. But I think now, especially with all the AI technology, there's a lot of opportunities to, drive that efficiency. And so I'm trying, um, I'm trying to work towards that. Not uploading my brain to the matrix, but towards just better communication with
Ah.
everybody more quickly and better.
Honestly, like communication is a superpower.
Mhm.
And if you can learn how to communicate more effectively, more concisely, more efficiently,
Yeah,
it'll like drastically improve. And you know what it is? Like that's a superpower you can actually learn. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool. That's really
yeah,
cool. That's an
yeah,
awesome one, man. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah.
Now it's your turn. What question would you ask the next guest?
I would say if there was one thing that you think that the Japanese startup ecosystem needs to do to change to make it better and more sustainable and achieve the goals that the Japanese government has laid out with their 5-year plan, what would that be? And
Cool.
how would you go about implementing that?
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. That sounds like a really good question. Definitely super relevant for this time.
Yeah,
Hopefully, people from the government will eventually watch this and see if they can implement some of that. Well, cool. Well, thank you so
yeah,
much. So in terms of how people can connect with you, is LinkedIn the best way to connect with
yeah. LinkedIn is fine. I should I should have my own personal website up hopefully later today at willbohn.com. That's Bohn, so willbohn.com. That should have all my socials and links to everything. LinkedIn's also fine.
you?
I look the same as on the
Okay.
podcast with my hat, and feel free to reach out for any reason whatsoever. If you're looking for support or feedback, I'm here to, I'd love to help. And also, look for my company and what we're doing at Wortal.ai. So that's WORTAL dot AI.
Awesome,
And
man.
looking forward to hopefully meeting people at events and website, the interwebs, wherever it might be. Happy to
Absolutely.
connect.
Awesome, man. I'll link all that stuff in the description below, and then you can feel free to connect with you, follow your journey, and hopefully contribute to ForFounders.jp.
Yes,
Awesome,
looking
man.
forward to it.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Product Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want to share your PM stories, challenges, struggles, or insights with us on a future episode, please get in touch with us on LinkedIn. We'd love to have you on and keep this conversation going. Until next time, happy building, everyone.